If you're in that situation where you're worried about spending money, worried about making money, and all those kinds of things because of the state of the world at the moment, the economy is in problems, the world over is kind of a scary place to be right now. This new series called No Money, No Excuses is going to be an ideal eye-opener to some of the things you can do with zero budget. Now, most importantly, I want to say one thing. There's one small caveat to this entire series. This doesn't include hosting or domain registrations. These are things you can find for free if you look around for them. It's entirely up to you if you want to go down that route. So I'm not going to touch upon the hosting or the domain registration as part of any of these video tutorials. What I am going to say though is that if you want to go down that free route, you can do. However, you could also spend a couple of pounds, a couple of dollars and get much better services. Up to you where you want to go. So today's scenario is we're going to create a single one-page WordPress website using a page builder. We're going to be creating a restaurant website using stock images and all those kinds of things, SEO, all the things you normally do. I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of how we can use those tools. This isn't by any means an in-depth tutorial. This is how you can take these resources, combine them together, and create great results. So if you're interested in finding out more about these tools, join me and I'm going to take you through and create this simple one-page website right now. So a basic scenario is a really simple one. We want a page builder, we want to use WordPress, we don't have a huge amount of time or skills, and our budget is pretty much zero for building a website. With that being said, some of the tools we're going to use. First off, we're going to be using Brizy or Breezy, depending upon where you come from, free page builder. We're not going to use the pro version, we're just going to use the free version. Now, arguably, you could say there are alternatives that may be better, but I would say that Brizy or Breezy has the best templates in any free page builder right now. So because we're going to be using those, that's one of the key reasons why I'm going to be using that particular plugin on this setup. Now, when it comes to themes, you are absolutely spoiled for choice. But for this example, because we're going to be using the templates, I don't want to have any problems by using something like Astra, Ocean WP, GeneratePress, or anything like that. We're going to be using the stripped back, bare bones Brizy theme. I'll put a link to that in the description. It's over on GitHub, so it's not really something that's easily available directly from within WordPress, but you simply just download the zip file and upload that to WordPress as you would with any other theme. No rocket science in it. So those are the two things we're going to be using there. So we're going to start off with is taking a look at how we use this. Now, this is not an in-depth tutorial on how to use these tools. That's already been covered in various different videos on this channel. This is more about taking a look at the tools and combining them together to create great looking results with zero outlay. So with that being said, let's just jump back over into the dashboard. And what we're going to do is we're going to create our home page. So for the pages section, we're going to add a new page. And from there, we're just going to name this. So we're not going to use the Gutenberg editor, so we can just close this down. We're going to name the page, so we're just going to call this home. And we'll just publish the page. I'm going to turn this annoying little thing off, just to say I only want to be asked one time when I want to publish or save a page inside the Gutenberg editor. Then we're going to open up Brizy. Once we're inside there, we've got the Brizy editor. And like I say, if you haven't seen how to use Brizy, this will be a brief whistle-stop tour of how we take a template and how we make it a little bit more our own. But if you want to see it in a bit more detail, I'll put a link to the Brizy playlist in the description below, so you can check out all the videos that I've done on this particular theme builder, or this particular page builder. Okay, so down the left-hand side, we've got our different options. If we want to add in elements, we want to reorder our blocks, or we want to adjust the styling, and also things like our preview for mobile viewers and so on. What we're interested though is give it a click on this big plus. And then we've got our templates and our blocks. Now, if you're used to any of the page builders, whether that's Brizy or you're working with something like Divi or Elementor, they've all got a very similar way of allowing you to choose any of these predefined layouts, blocks, and so on. So let me just quickly explain the difference between a layout and a block. A layout, or a page as it may be termed, is an entire template for the whole page. Whereas a block is each individual building block. So that could be the hero, it could be services, it could be a contact form, it could be a multitude of different things. So depending upon what you want to do, if you want to build things up block by block, or you just want an entire page design, you have those options. So this is the block section, and as you can see, we've got a ton of great looking blocks that we can pull in and choose from. Some of these are obviously locked because they're pro only. If we take a look at the layout section, we can see we've got a ton of different layouts. Now, the beauty of the layout side of things is that these are entire layouts for a site. not just one page. So you may have the home page, you may have a services page, contact page, and so on. Now again, a lot of these are pro only. However, if we come to the bottom, we can choose the free options, and we've got some great starting points for free designs. You can see, again, we've only got one layout in each one of these. These are basically just an individual page. So if you wanted to, you can choose however you want to work, either based upon a page or based upon blocks. If we come up to the top, we come back out of this, go to all categories, come to blocks, you can see at the top we've got Kit 1 and Kit 2. Now basically these are two different entire sets of designs. So if we open up Kit 1, you can see these would have been the original ones that shipped with the earlier versions of Brizy. However, Kit 2, which is the more recent, are a little bit more colorful, a little bit more modern and fresh. So you can see we have a lot of options available. Some of these, like I say, are pro only, but there's also a ton that are free. So again, we can go through and choose what we want. We've also got light and dark versions. So if you want to work on a darker site, you can click, and all those designs have already been set up for dark. Now the beauty of working with Brizy is that most of these, if not all of these, use the style option. So if you want to change the fonts, the typography, some of the colors that are used, you literally just click on one button and we can change those. So let's take a look at creating something. Now we're not going to worry about creating an entire page using the layouts. We'll build it up from building blocks so we can see how that process works and have just a little bit more flexibility. However, it's entirely up to you if you want to go for an entire design. So our page is basically going to be for a restaurant. So we're going to choose all the different elements we want. We're going to keep it to a simple one-page design, but obviously creating more pages is just as simple and straightforward. So first thing we want to do is choose a hero image. So let's choose the hero options and take a look at what we have. As you can see, there are a ton of really great designs. Even the free ones are great designs, so you're not being limited to having to purchase a pro license to get anything remotely useful. You can use the free options perfectly fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at something that I think is going to be in keeping to the type of design that I want. I want a nice full picture across the top. So we're going to choose this design. And you see that immediately drops in our header section. And this is all totally editable. So before we take a look at editing that, let's take a look at these styling options. Click to expand that out. Currently we're using Overpass as the style. However, we've got a range of different styles we can choose from. And you're not limited to these. You can adjust and edit these and configure them however you want. But we can use these as a good starting point. So we can click, choose different options, and then anything that changes in there will be related to that current style. So colors, fonts, typography, those kinds of things. Same if we go to a different option, you can see different elements are changing. Now some of these don't change depending upon how they've been styled and set up, but you can still change them should you want to. So once we've chosen the styling that we want, we can then just close that down and we can come over to our page and start editing. Now we're not worried about editing right now. We need to pull in pictures and then change a few things around. Let's just create that basic placeholder page before we start adding and changing things. So there's our hero image set up. We now want to put a second section in. So let's add a new block in. Blocks is what we want. We're going to come over and take a look at features this time. So now we can say, well, okay, our restaurant now wants to feature a range of its special best dishes. We could go through and choose from any of these options that are free. So let's just take a look for something that I think is going to be in keeping with the styling that I want. A nice, clean, fresh, modern look. So taking a little look through, actually, I think what I'm going to go for is something like this. We've got this nice 3 key section. So we're going to click on that and add that section in. So that's now added into our design. If we want to reorder anything on the page, we can simply come over to this reorder blocks option, expand that. We get a nice visual representation of all of the different blocks, and we can just simply drag those around and they'll update in real time on the page. So working with this is super simple. You can test things out, you can move things around, you can get creative. If you don't like something, you can simply click, delete it, and it's now gone. So, like I say, really, really simple. Let's put that block back in. So we'll go back to our features. Drop that block back in there. Okay, so there's our next block. Let's add another one in. Let's come over this time and we're going to choose some testimonials. So we'll find something now to add some weight to our actual, sort of range of foods, our restaurant and so on. So let's just find something that I think is going to look nice. So let's just have a little bit of a difference in color now. Let's just choose a dark option and let's find something that we can pull in there so we can have just a little bit of visual separation to draw attention to those testimonials. This looks pretty good. I like the look of that. Or we could go for something like one of these, which is nice and clean and plain. So what are we going to do? We're going to go for this one. So insert that in there, and you can see we've now dropped that in. We'll change all these images over for something that's a little bit more restaurant orientated a little later. Let's just add a couple more different sections in. Let's just say we want to put a gallery inside there. Again, we want to keep this nice and clean and simple. Let's have something a little bit modern like this and go back to our light designs. We'll add that in there. So let's just add one more item in, and what we're going to do is we're going to drop in a pricing option so we can have some set meals and we can have some options available there. Again, let's just choose something that I think is going to be in keeping with the design. We're going to go for dark this time so we have a kind of end to the page, and we'll go for something like, let's go for this one. This looks quite nice. So we'll insert that in there. So we've now got our final section inside there. Again, if we come back up and take a look at our styling, we can easily change this. And you can see when we change it, the fonts change, the colors change. So we can change any of these aspects and find something that we think is going to be a nice starting point. Once you've kind of chosen that, that looks quite nice. Once you've chosen all the things that you want and all those styles have been updated throughout our site, we've now created our basic homepage. We can just hit update on there and we've now created the basic template for that. We can now go ahead and start finding images that are going to be related to this particular type of business. In this example, the restaurant. Now we've got the basics of our page set up, we can go ahead and start finding those images. Now obviously we want to use royalty-free images and we have zero budget. So what can we do? Well, we can use sites like Unsplash. Now if you go back say 5-10 years ago and you looked at free online stock images, they were pretty ropey at best. You'd find a couple of good images, but most of them were kind of rubbish. And then you'd have to go to paid options, which could get quite expensive. So with our zero budget in mind, Unsplash or sites like this are invaluable because you've got so many options available to you now and they are really good quality. Some cases I would say they even rival and sometimes even beat out their commercial counterparts in a lot of ways. So let's say we're going to work on our restaurant. Now I've got a real thing, I love Indian food. So I'm going to use an Indian restaurant as the basis for this. So we want to find some Indian food. Let's take a little look what's available image-wise. Now obviously you are going to get some discrepancy in some of the quality of the images, like this first one, not exactly the best quality image, just looks like someone's dinner. However, looking at the rest, you can see there's a lot better options available. And we could easily pull some really nice examples from here and use these as the basis for our website. However, like I say, you're not limited to only using Unsplash. There are other options available. So let's take a look at a couple of those options and see what kind of images they've got, and then we can pick and choose the best for us. So next on my list of really good resources for stock images is Pixlr. So let's just take a look for our Indian food again. And again, you can see we've got some really nice looking images, the kinds of things that will really draw attention to what you're working on the website. So we can take a look at that. And the third and final one we're going to quickly take a look at, and this is by no means the limit of the free stock image libraries out there, is Stocksnap.io. So again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to search for our Indian food and we're going to have a little look. So we've got tons of options that we can tap into. So if we jump back over our design, you can see we've got this nice header hero image at the top. So we want to find something that's got some nice impact, but also it'd be quite useful if we had some space to put some text into the image. So let's come back over to our stock libraries, have a quick run through until we can find out something that I think is going to be useful. In this example, I think Pixlr's probably had the better range of images. So what we're going to do, I think, let's have a little look. Yeah, I think we're going to go for one of these images. Yeah, I think we'll go for one of these. Nice thing with this is we can save ourselves a little bit of time when we use Pixlr, because if you take a look in the top left hand corner, we've got the free download option, but we can also choose what size we want to download. So it just makes our whole life a little easier. For this example, we're going to go for 1920 by 1080. That's going to give us a nice size. And we say free download. Now, I would always recommend you either donate if you've got money coming in. It's a paid project. If it's for free, at least give them thanks on Twitter. So at least you're giving some kind of attribution to what you're doing. Okay, so we'll say that's the first of our images. So there we go. There's our image. So I'm going to simply save that into my assets folder. So I've got that on my computer. And now we're ready to move on to the next stage, which is taking a look at how we can take this image and make any changes or edits we may want to do to it. Now, I recently did a video that covered a lot of different things that were all free tools, and part of that was where we took a look at free photo editors, free image editors online. I'll link to that video in the description below so you can take a look at some of the other options, and there are a lot of options. However, I think Pixlr is probably one of the best, especially if you're used to working with tools like Photoshop or Affinity Photo. This is going to feel very, very familiar to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into the Advanced Pixlr E. We're going to let that load up, and we can now go through and we can either search for stock images, so we could cut out the middle person if we wanted to, or we can simply upload our image. Now all we're going to do is drag and drop the file we just downloaded, and you can see that immediately opens up now inside the Pixlr editor. So you've got all the tools you'd expect inside a normal version of something like Photoshop. We can crop, we can edit, we can do all those kinds of really useful things. We've even got little pop-ups, much the same as what you have in Photoshop, to tell you exactly what all these different tools do, the keyboard shortcuts, and all those kinds of really useful things. So what we could do now is we can come into here and we can easily do things like resize. If we had no option, we downloaded the full size version, you can do that. If you want to apply any effects, you wanted to make this black and white, you can do all of those different things inside here. Now for this image, I'm not going to go through too much other than just resizing it, just to show you how easy it is to start working with this. But we will use this a little later on to compress some of the images for things like the different sections on the site that don't require such large images. But in the same way as you have with Photoshop, we can come into image, for example, and we can come to image size. We can do image rotation if we wanted to, flip it, all those kinds of useful things. We've got ability to do things like adjustments, so we can adjust the brightness and contrast. So let's just say we wanted to adjust something like the vibrance of the image. We want to make it just a little bit more punchy. Well, we can adjust that, and you can see that now just adds a little bit more vibrance to the colors. We'll hit apply, and now we can come into image and we can go to image size. You can see now we can do things like constrain proportions. We can disable that if we want to. We can set the width and the height. So let's just say we're going to just change this to something arbitrary like 1900. I'm not really too bothered, it's just to demonstrate. We'll click apply. That will then resize that slightly, and now what we can do is we can go to file and we can say save. And now we can choose how we want to save it, what format, the quality, and so on. So what I would suggest is, if you're using a tool like Pixlr E, is to save this as the highest quality setting, and then use something else that's really there dedicated to optimizing the images, which we will take a look at in a moment. So 90 should be perfectly fine. You're not going to see much of a difference between 90% and 100%, other than a big jump in file size. So we take a look at the file size. It's currently 440 kilobytes. If we chuck that up to 100%, it goes up quite a few times, 1.8 megabytes. But I say, chances are you will see next to no noticeable difference in the quality. We've also got the file types. We can choose between JPEG, PNG, WebP, and PXD. We're going to keep this simple and use the JPEG standard. And once we've done that, we're quite happy. We'll just say download. So that will now make those adjustments to it, download it. We've got a little ad we've got to wait for it to go past, but that's a small price to pay for a powerful free tool. So we can close that down once that's finished. There's our image. So we're just going to put that into our assets folder, and we've now got that all set up. So we've now resized this, made some color alterations to it, done whatever we wanted. The next thing we want to do now is compress this down and get a smaller file size, but have a little bit more control over those aspects. So let's take a look at how we can do that, again, for zero cost. When it comes to compressing your images, there are a couple of options that you can choose from online, all those being free. We can use Short Pixel, which allows us to easily upload, compress, choose various different compression options, and then download files. We've also got Tiny PNG and Tiny JPEG. It's exactly the same plugin, does exactly the same thing. The only difference is it's got a different domain. So don't worry about that. And if you want to work with PNG files, both the Short Pixel and Tiny PNG will both compress those, generally give you quite good compression while retaining that transparency. But because we're working with JPEG, we can just stick with either of these options. Now you can see it says free sign up. We're not worried about signing up at this point. We're just simply going to come over to the compress option. So now we can upload up to 50 files to optimize. The only caveat here is if you're using the free option, if you upload 1, 10, 20, 50, you have to download them one at a time. You have to have an account to be able to download a zip file with all those in. So again, it's one of those things, obviously they want you to pay for the services, so they're going to give you so much for free, but when you want the ease of use, that comes with a small price. However, like I say, we're creating one page, might have half a dozen to a dozen images on it. It's not the end of the world. So first of all, let's take a look at what Short Pixel does. Let's just drag our hero image in that we've just resized. We'll upload that, and we can see we've got three different options: lossy, glossy, and lossless. Now, Obviously, we want to get a smaller file size. And this is something when you're dealing with photographs with lots of shades, lots of colors, lots of light and dark areas, they are generally a much bigger file size. So make sure that you choose the right compression level for both the image that you're uploading and using on the website, but also its intended purpose. If you're creating a portfolio site for a photographer, you'd have to sacrifice some of that speed of loading to have great quality images. With this example, we're not too worried because we're going to have writing over the top. So as long as it looks good, it's not the end of the world. It's a little bit of degradation in quality. Like I say, there's your three options. Now we can see the image is uploaded. It's gone through the compression routine using the lossy compression level. And now we have our image. It tells us some basic information. With lossy, it's compressed it by 72% and taken it from about 0.4 of a megabyte to about 0.1 of a megabyte. If you want to take a look at this before we go to the time and effort of downloading it, we can click on the little eye icon. That will open up and allow us to see a before and after. And if we take a look, I can't really see much in the way difference when it comes to the images. The left-hand side is the original. The right-hand side is a short pixel compressed version. So that's pretty good. Let's just download that now. So we're going to click on the little download option, and there's our hero image. So we're going to just drag that off, and I'm going to take a look at the file size of that, and we've got the properties on there. Comes in at 123 kilobytes. So we've saved about 300 kilobytes, just over. So that's a decent saving. Let's do the same thing on tiny PNG and see what we get on there. So we're going to upload that. Now you can see with this, we're not getting any option to choose the compression level. We're just basically going with whatever they think is the right compression level. And as you can see using this, we started off at 450 kilobytes and we've saved about 52%. So in this example, short pixel definitely kicks tiny PNGs behind. So we're going to go with that version. But like I say, those options are available and it's worthwhile testing if you've got images uploaded to both of those. Takes a couple of seconds and you can see which gives you the best result, quality and file size. So now that we've taken our hero image, we've downloaded it, we've resized it, and we've also compressed it, let's see how we can go in and actually change the header section or the hero section on our page to add that in. All we need to do is come over this hero section. We're going to click on this little icon in the top right hand corner, and from there we now have a little pop out that allows us to do a range of different things. So we've got options like the block, we've got background, we've got columns and so on. If we click on background and click to open that up, and you can see there's our image. So we want to X to get rid of that, and we're simply going to choose to upload that file. So we're going to upload our hero image. We're just going to put some text in there. So we're going to say hero Indian food. Always make sure you put your alt text in there, and title can be useful as well. So we're just going to take the alt text and drop that in there as well. Hit select, and there we go. After a second or two, you can see there's our image has been loaded in. Now, one of the things that I really like about working with a tool like Brizy is we can adjust the focus point for this image in a super easy fashion. If you take a look on the image, you can see you've got this blue and white dot. We can use that to position the focal point and adjust things. So you don't have to go through that time and effort of doing center, bottom right, and all those kinds of things, which in a lot of cases may not be the most easy way to figure out where you want things. With this, you can literally just drag things around to focus what you want, where you want it. So that was super simple. We can apply parallax effect to this if we wanted to. So we've got a ton of different options inside there. We're not limited to using just an image though. We could easily use a video if we wanted to, or we could even use a map address on there. So a ton of simple options. And like I say, this is all in the free version, so you've got no excuse not to have a great looking site. So this is our background image. Next thing we want to do is rectify this little problem we have here, because obviously you can't see the text over the image. Well, that's super simple again. We can just select the text. We can come over then and we can adjust the colors on this. We can click, say we want white on there, and now we've got much clearer text. Now let's say that you want to put a little bit of a background color on this so we can make this section stand out even better. We can come over to this specific column. We can click on this little blue arrow in the top right hand corner, and we're going to come down then we're going to choose colors. Now from there we can choose borders, shadows, overlays, all those kinds of useful things on both the normal state and also the hover state if you wanted to make this look like it's interactive. So what we're going to do is we want to make this background just separate from the image that's behind it. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose a solid color. I'm going to choose black as that solid color, and then we're going to adjust the opacity on it. So we're just going to drag that down to make it a little bit more opaque. somewhere around there looks pretty good. And now we can just go in and rectify this text. So we're just going to select all this text. We're going to come over and we're going to just change that to be white as well. So now we've got this section that stands off the page a little bit, and which we can adjust as much as we want. So we can come back in if we want to, make that a little bit more solid in color. There we go. So that now stands off the background and allows us to see what's going on and see this text in a nice, simple fashion. So you can see as we scroll up and down, everything looks good. If we want to, we can come back into this, we can come back into our background, and we can say we want this to be animated parallax. And as you can see, we now get a super cool parallax effect on there as things move up. And that nice little background overlay we just put on there makes it look a little bit more interesting. So super interesting, super easy to do. Now the other thing I want to do is just take this section out. So we're going to get rid of that completely. So what we're going to do is just click and delete these off. So you can see it is really, really simple to tidy those things up. So now we've got rid of that section we didn't need in there. And if we want to, we can adjust this just to make sure everything sits the way we want. Okay, so that's the heading section done. Next up, we need a couple more images for these signature dishes that we're going to use in this next section. So I'm just going to quickly go back over to my stock image libraries, take a look for some images I think are useful, download those, quickly edit those inside Pixlr, and then I'm going to put those into here. So we're going to make those final little alterations, these various different sections. Nothing you haven't already just seen. So I've gone ahead, added those images, made a couple of little color tweaks, and as you can see, this is what we've kind of ended up with now for our one-page focus on this particular, this restaurant kind of thing. You can see we've got some nice effects, images that look great that have cost us no money, a template that's cost no money, a page builder that's cost no money, and we ultimately have a great starting point for our restaurant. Now, is there more you could do with this? Absolutely. This is a quick 10-minute job to show you how you can take these tools as a great starting point and do what you want. So now that we've got the page set up and all those kinds of things, what's the next thing we need to look at? Well, I think SEO is something that's going to be pretty important. If we want people to find this website, how are we going about doing that? Let's take a look at a free option we're going to be using. This gives us tons of control over our search engine optimization. Now, there are a couple of SEO plugins that I would recommend taking a look at. In fact, there are actually two. We've got SEO Press, the free version, which gives you a ton of options and something that I use personally alongside the pro version. But there's also Rank Math. So if you want the probably best bang for your $0, Rank Math is probably going to be the option to choose. But compare both of them, see what they have, see what you think is the better option for you. For this example, we're just going to go ahead and install Rank Math. Let's activate that and let's quickly take a look at the settings. Now, this is not a total how do you use Rank Math. This is just showing you some of the features it has and why it's a great tool if you want to up your SEO game without spending any money. You do need to set up an account, but it is completely free at this point in time to set an account up. That may change in the future. I have no idea. But for now, you have to do that. Now, I've already set an account up because I use this on a couple of sites. So I'm going to quickly log into my account and then we'll crack on with taking a look at what this offers us. Okay, so with that all set up, we now can go through the basic wizard. You can skip this if you want to, if you're accustomed to working with SEO or you've already used this plugin and you prefer to set things up yourself, you can do that. For ease, we're going to go through the wizard just to show you what options you have as part of this. As we can see, our website is compatible with Rank Math, so that's a good start. Let's just hit this start our wizard. So, first thing we're going to ask is, this WordPress site is what? Is it a personal blog, business site, portfolio, and so on? So we're going to say this is a small business site, business type, organization, and so on. So we're going to see if we can find restaurant inside there. There we go, restaurant. And we're just going to call this my Indian restaurant. There we go. Logo for Google. Well, you can go through and add all your logos and bits and pieces inside there, which obviously I would highly recommend that you do. We're going to hit save and continue. Search console, you can authorize this with the Google Search Console. If you want to keep track of all your SEO stats, put all those details in there, just set things up. For this, I'm going to just skip this step. Then we've got a sitemap. Now, obviously, if you had a site that has more than one page like we have here, you can set up your sitemap and do all those kinds of things. So I'm going to leave all these basically set as their defaults. You can see it just gives us include images. If we wanted to exclude our images from the sitemap, we could do that. We can also specify what pages, posts, and so on. And if you're using things like advanced custom fields, you have extra custom post types, custom taxonomies and things. You can specify what you do and don't want included in your sitemap. We'll leave the defaults inside there, hit save and continue. And you can see we've got some tweaks. Take your time, read through this if you're not accustomed to it. And if you're not sure, just go with the suggestions and leave that as, because you can come back at any point when you're a little bit more understanding of some of these terms, some of the things you may want to change. And all of these settings you set up as part of this wizard can easily be changed further on down the line. So we say save and continue, and we go. There, we're ready. So we're just going to say either return to the dashboard, proceed to the help page, or set up advanced options. Let's just return to our dashboard. That now takes us into Rank Math, and we can start to configure various different things inside here. So go through all the settings inside here, tweak, adjust, set everything you want up inside there as well. Now, if you'd like me to go into a detailed tutorial on how to use Rank Math, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll take a look at doing that if enough people are interested. But like I say, most of it is fairly self-explanatory. Some of the more advanced things, well, if you don't know what you're doing, leave them as they are. Out of the box, they should do pretty much everything that you want. So there's our SEO side of things, all done and dusted. So we've now got a website, we've got SEO set up. When we create pages, so for example, we come into all pages and go into our home page, we can now go in and set up any of the SEO options inside there. Now, if you're using Gutenberg and the latest version of WordPress, you may be looking and thinking, well, where do I actually access the options for my SEO? It's kind of disappeared. All it really is that they've cleaned up the interface to make it more focused on writing. You can still grab all those details. All you need to do is click the little 3 dots in the top right hand corner, click on there, and you can see plugins. It says Rank Math. Click on Rank Math, and then there's all the options for your Rank Math for this particular page. So your general, you've got all your advanced settings, you've got your schema, and you've also got your social sharing options. So it's all still in there. You just need to activate it. Once you've activated it, you can then go through and rectify any issues that may be showing up on there and specify and configure everything you want on a per page basis. So I think you'll agree there's never been a better time to be able to access some amazing tools online, some amazing resources, absolutely and utterly free. So this should whet your appetite to the kinds of things you could create with a little time and effort without spending any money whatsoever. Now, as always, all of the applicable links for everything I've covered are in the description below, so you can check these out for yourself, take a look, take them for a test drive, and let me know what you think in that comment section. As always, mine has been Paul C. This has been WPTuts, and until next time, take care.